Okay, that works. Hello everyone and welcome back to Noia Dev, the series that aims to prove that one developer can create a successful MMO RPG. My name is Dane and this week on Noia Dev we're talking about new spells. So for the past 2 weeks, I've been hard at work to fully realize how each class is going to function in Noia. And for those of you that don't know, Noia operates on the Holy Trinity system of MMO class design. There are primary class archetypes: damage, healer, and tank. The tank's role is to keep the attention of the monster and absorb damage so it does not run off and smush the other squishy party members. The healer's job is to keep the party alive, and the damage role, well, their primary function is to enthusiastically employ diplomatic strategies to ensure entities demonstrating adversarial tendencies are swiftly and confidently vacated from the vicinity of the party's immediate location. In other words, they make the monsters more dead. In some MMOs, there's fourth class archetype, the support. Support classes make other classes better at their jobs, usually by providing temporary power-ups called buffs. Noia doesn't really have a support class yet. Still unsure if there will be a support class in the future or not. Now, in the past 2 weeks, I did try to fully flesh out all of the various skills each class would have. Remember this chart here? Well, down at the bottom, there's these little tabs and you can actually see what all the skills each class will have. I got a solid chunk of those new spells and abilities added into the game, namely for the wand and sword classes. So let's start with the wand class. Wielders of powerful arcane forces, the wand class deals high damage in short bursts. While they are the highest damage dealing class in Noia, they are handicapped in a few ways. They are squishy, they are hampered by longer spell cast times, and they are unable to move while casting those spells. Or rather, their spell will be interrupted should they decide to move while casting. All of this makes the wand user a glass cannon, capable of dealing some truly massive damage, but will fall over if you look at them funny. Up until now, the wand class had 3 spells: Zap, a simple damage spell; Fireball, a charge ability that would do more damage the longer the spell is charged initially; and Domain, a class-defining spell. Domain greatly buffs the player while they're standing inside of this ring of power and will teleport the player back to the center if cast again while outside the circle. Now let's see these new spells. Ignite is a simple damage over time spell. It lights the target on fire. However, Ignite also synergizes with Fireball. A level 2 Fireball will apply Ignite to the target, and up until now, level 3 Fireball would leave a carpet of fire on the ground that would damage any monster walking through it, but now level 3 Fireball applies Ignite to all targets in the area. Icicle. This spell is meant to be a literal spike of damage, a much longer cooldown with much higher damage. I am unsure if this spell will get a direct upgrade in the future or not. Pain to Arcane. This spell is a channeled spell, meaning it only works as long as the player is holding down the button. This spell is the only spell of the wand user that can be cast while moving. It drains 5% of the caster's HP and heals 10% of the MP per second, up to 10 seconds. Be careful though, this spell will not end if you are low on HP and can kill you. Book Smarts. This one's pretty straightforward. It's a direct buff to the player's intelligence stats. Once this spell hits level 5, players will have access to its direct replacement, PhD. While PhD is also more powerful, it can also be cast on other players as well. And last but not least, Magic Missile. This was a lot of fun to program. Magic Missile is a bit of a double-edged sword for the wand user. At level 1, it fires a single projectile at the target. As the spell gains levels, the number of projectiles also goes up. However, the target is also randomized based on the character's position. So, you can do a lot of damage to a single monster or a little bit of damage to several monsters. Moving on to the sword class. If you hadn't guessed it yet, this is the tank class for Noia, the sword and board wielder. While it doesn't do the most damage, it makes up for it in pure tenacity. I based this class off of one of my favorite tank classes from EverQuest 2, the Guardian. While other tank classes in EQ2 could heal themselves in one way or another to increase their longevity, Guardians stayed alive simply by saying no to getting hurt. They could give themselves a buff called Stone Skin, which would completely negate the damage from the next incoming attack. This made the Guardian very proactive in their tanking. While while the Paladin and Shadow Knight would heal themselves after they took damage, Guardians had to proactively understand what was coming next and throw up their shield at the right time. Too early and they would burn their stone skin on a weak attack and then get slammed in the face by the attack that they meant to block. And too late, well, they just got hit. This is how I envision the sword class for Noia to work. A class that can simply say, I don't want to get hit by that. At early levels, the player will gain Pillar of Stone. It gives them one free hit of Stone Skin. And at later levels, they get access to Iron Will, a buff that replenishes Stone Skin charges at regular intervals. The higher level the buff, the more often that Stone Skin replenishes. This way, the player can simply opt to eat a large attack and take no damage, so they can keep the pressure on a boss monster. Now, sometimes a sword wielder just won't be able to stay close to a monster, and so they need a ranged attack. So do what Captain America does and just hurl your shield at your opponent. Shield Toss is one of the only ways the sword class can do damage from afar, and later on it will be directly upgraded at level 5 to Bouncing Shield Toss. Now I want every class to be able to contribute to a party, so even if there is 2 or 3 sword users in a party, they're not all hampered by their lower end damage. So I made Overpowered and Armored, 2 opposing buffs. Overpowered will reduce the wielder's defense but grant more attack power, and Armor will do the opposite, gaining more defense at the cost of attack. Overpower won't bring a sword user up to the same damage output as a wand user per se, but they won't be a burden on the party's overall damage any longer. And that's it for this week. I had a ton of fun working on these new skills for the sword and the wand, and while neither of these 2 weapon classes are complete yet, I am going to be taking time on the next 2 weeks to work on the bow and the staff and get some new abilities in for them. Just a reminder, none of these abilities that you're seeing here are set in stone. Development is an ongoing process. So if you want to try out these new abilities, hop into the game. And if you want to leave some feedback or some suggestions on some skills that you want to see in Noia, hop into the Discord, link down in the description. And if you like what you're seeing, be sure to give a like and a comment and subscribe and all that stuff for the algorithm. It really does help get the name of Noia out there so we have more players to play with. Anyway, I gotta get back to work, so I'll see you next time.